Help support the show by joining the Patreon or becoming a YouTube member. Also, hit that like button and subscribe if you want more Browns-focused content. Huge news, man, coming out of Berea. Andrew Berry just did his season-ending press conference. I think it was a pretty good listen. If you want to listen to the whole thing, it's about 30 minutes. A short synopsis of the whole thing, or at least an analysis of the whole thing. They seemed much more reflective and realistic about what happened this year and what's working, what's not working. So that was nice to hear. But again, he's not going to keep his job just because he's good at press conferences. He's got to prove it this offseason. But anyways, Deshaun Watson, who is recovering from an Achilles injury that he suffered in October, has had a setback in his Achilles recovery, which makes the Browns feel like 2025 is not guaranteed to Deshaun Watson. Now, it goes without saying that at the time that Deshaun Watson got that Achilles injury, he was probably the last athlete on earth who could afford to have an Achilles injury when he had the Achilles injury, right? He was playing garbage football in a year where it was up to him to prove it. And then he tears his Achilles after having to come back from a shoulder surgery and entering the age of 30. Now, Deshaun Watson, who was the last person on earth who could have the Achilles injury or afford to have the Achilles injury when he had it, is now suffering an Achilles setback, which I'm hearing might require surgery. Like, it's a serious setback. Like, it's not like, oh, yeah, he's delayed like a week or two. What I'm hearing is that it is possible that in his recovery, he re-injured the Achilles, which completely resets his timeline. He was the last person on earth, or at least the last athlete on earth, who could afford an Achilles injury when he got it. And he's the last person on earth, or at least the last athlete on earth, who can afford a setback with an Achilles injury this late into the game, right? This is, I mean, like the whole idea that he was going to compete, which I had thought that was a little bit, there was some BS there, right? And I brought that up in my video earlier today. That whole thing is no longer a thing. He's not going to be back for training camp. It's, and like what's likely for Deshaun Watson is that he's going to be on PUP for the rest of the year. Like, this feels like PUP entire 2025, because the only reason to activate Deshaun Watson off of PUP was to give him the chance to compete for the starting job in 2025. That's the only reason I thought they would activate him off PUP, right? Player unable to play list, or IR, was so they can give him the opportunity to win the job or not. Well, he's not even going to be able to compete for the job in camp. So why would he ever come off PUP? He's going to be on injured reserve / PUP for the entirety of 2025. I know the Browns said they don't know yet about if he'll be on injured reserve all 2025. But the fact that they're considering it or not ruling out that he will be back during the 2025 season tells you a lot. Tells you they don't think he's going to play in 2025. It has not been looking good for Deshaun Watson since the Achilles injury, right? If you just look at the raw numbers, the level of football he was playing, which was very poor, the fact that he was 30 or about to be 30 when he comes back from this injury, the fact that the only thing that was good about him was that he still had his athletic ability, and then you pop an Achilles, well, now that changes shit. Deshaun Watson has played a hilariously small amount of football since 2020. Like, what, 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024. That's 4 years. Somebody this spring who went to college in 2021 is about to graduate from college. Think about the time span. If you went to college, if you went to high school, how long them 4 years feel, how much you change over them 4 years, how much you grow over those 4 years. Some people find love, get married, all within 4 years, and then have a child. Like you meet the person 4 years ago, you date for 2 years, you get married for a year, and then bam, you get a child. That's how long 4 years is. Think about that. Deshaun Watson in those 4 years has played 17 games of football and has spent infinitely more time recovering from injuries or being suspended. Again, last dude on earth who can afford a setback with an Achilles injury. He's going to miss an entire season. I'm not like, it's not official. I'm just going to call it. Like, if he plays next year, I'd be shocked. But this feels like he's going to miss an entire season. And again, the Browns were already signaling that they were moving away from this whole thing. Maybe it's because they knew about the setback yesterday, right? That they were going to move away from this whole thing. Maybe that was it. But even before you would think that the setback would happen, right? When he was out there walking around on Instagram, letting us know that he's back and he's going to be back soon and that he's ahead of schedule. Even back then, there were signs that the Browns weren't really eager to go back to Deshaun Watson. Reports were already out that they were going to make him compete in camp. Now he's not even going to be able to compete in camp. And you have to imagine if he got that opportunity to compete in camp in 2025, that was his last shot. If he didn't win the job, he didn't win the job. Well, now he just lost that competition. He's not going to be able to compete. We're not going to wait till 2026 to see if Deshaun Watson can compete. Like, he's done. He's done. The Watson era is pretty much over. He might still be on the team for the next year or two. But as far as like Watson being treated like the franchise quarterback or the Browns holding any kind of specific space with Watson, yeah, that's over with, man. The Browns are going to draft the quarterback this year. Maybe in like somewhere in this draft, they're going to draft a quarterback. They're going to sign a veteran quarterback, and they're going to trade for a flyer. That's what I think the quarterback room is going to look like, right? They're going to go after Kirk Cousins, a Jacoby Brissett, who else would be out there? I don't think Aaron Rodgers is somebody to go after, but like Kirk Cousins, Jacoby Brissett, Joe Flacco type quarterback, right? Somebody who used to be a starter, somebody who they trust to start. In Jacoby Brissett's case, only because he started for the Browns previously. Then they're going to trade for a flyer, somebody with some upside. You know, maybe they sign Trey Lance in free agency. Maybe they decide to go after Malik Willis. Maybe they decide to move for Kyle Trask, right? Like maybe that's where they go. But they're going to get a flyer, and then they're going to draft somebody, I think probably after pick 90, and that's going to be the quarterback room for 2025. Deshaun Watson's not going to hold space. He's not even going to take up a roster spot. Now, there's another angle of this that's out there with what could be his injury insurance, right? Now, I've had Jack Duffin on. I'll have to have him on again soon. He works for the OBR. He does great work for the OBR. If you're a Browns fan, you want to have up-to-date, accurate information about the Cleveland Browns, you should consider joining the OBR. I do work over there as well. Well, he mentioned, and this was confirmed by Jason from Over the Cap, that the Browns have injury insurance on Deshaun Watson. And if Deshaun Watson cannot play in 2025, that insurance is rumored to be $44 million of relief. So what that means is that if Deshaun Watson doesn't play in 2025, come 2026, the Browns will be relieved of $44 million of Deshaun Watson's guaranteed money. That will be settled by insurance. I am pretty sure if you just look at how everything mounts up, there is no incentive for the Browns to activate this man off injured reserve. There is zero incentive for the Browns to do that. He has not been a good enough player to justify it. He doesn't provide any hope at the quarterback position. Honestly, it would be better for your relationship with the fan base to act like he doesn't exist, because that's how big of a failure this trade has been. It's been such a big failure that Andrew Berry basically admitted that the trade was a failure during the press conference while Deshaun Watson's still in the contract. Like, think about that. He still has to play the politics of like Deshaun Watson still being in his locker room, but he's like, no, the trade ain't gone how we thought it would go. Like that, they have admitted that. They have admitted failure on the Watson trade. There's no reason they would rush him back from this injury to play like week 12 or week 15 or something like that. So he's going to be out, which means the Browns will get $44 million of cap relief from Deshaun Watson's contract, because I think the way it works out is that basically that money's no longer guaranteed or considered guaranteed. So that is where the Browns are with Deshaun. It's done, in my opinion. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'll come on here, make a video, talk about how wrong I was. But I don't think I'm wrong. I am pretty confident that this is it for Deshaun. I thought there was a small chance that they were serious about the competing thing and that they were going to wheel his ass out there in July, and make him try to play football to compete for this job. I thought there was a small chance of that. Now that he has had this setback with the Achilles, now that it seems like it's definitely going to take him out the chance of playing in July, it's over with. That was his last chance. That was his last train to get his NFL career back. He missed it. It's over with for him. And the Browns will quietly rock this contract out. They will take the injury insurance with him. And important to remember with the restructure, it is reported that they haven't signed anything official, that this has been an agreement in principle with Deshaun Watson. So it's possible that because now they're going to get $44 million of cap relief in 2026 from Deshaun in his contract, they don't even see it necessary to have the dummy year in there and spread this money out. They might just say, hey, we're just going to peace out after these next couple of years and not even spread this money out. I think they still will spread some of the money out and do a post-June 1st cut. But either way, yeah, Deshaun Watson's not going to play this year. They're going to get to June 1st next year. They're going to cut him. That's my prediction. If I'm right, cool, put this shit in the Smithsonian. But that is where we are at with Deshaun Watson. Now, that's not the only thing that they talked about in this press conference. Andrew Berry had comments about other things in this press conference. One, about the Myles Garrett stuff. He said, we're basically not trading Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett is going to be here. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's going to go to Canton. He's going to be a Brown for the rest of his life. I don't think they're not interested in making any moves with Myles Garrett. They're not going to trade him for draft picks. They're not worried that Myles is trying to force his way off the team. If they were worried about that, they would have talked about it in less definite terms. This sounds like a team that knows that they can get an extension from Myles. Now, I said this in my video early this morning, and I'll say it again. If they stink next year and everybody gets fired, all bets are off. Right? Because Andrew Berry ain't going to be here no more. Kevin Stefanski ain't going to be here no more. So that changes everything. But as long as Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski are here, Myles ain't going nowhere. That is pretty much fact at this point. They're talking about him as if he's going nowhere. So like I said, I thought all the Myles Garrett stuff was a bit overblown. I think people are being dramatic about it. I don't think Myles is as close to requesting a trade as people make it out to be. I think we're just projecting our own misery about 2025 onto everybody else and saying, oh, well, they have to be miserable. And if I were Myles, I would want to be traded. But I don't think that's how Myles sees it. Truthfully, I think Myles is more optimistic about the Browns situation than fans are, which makes sense. Players usually are. Mike Hall, they talked about his injury for a little bit here. From what it sounds like to be like an MCL injury, which to me is good news because I was concerned that man had broke a bone and like 3 ligaments in his leg. And that is a hard injury to come back from. He did not do that. It seems like he only tore his MCL. Now the MCL injury is not a joke. And it's going to take 6 to 10 months. Was what the Google says 9 to 12. Athletes usually come back from it about 7 to 9 months because they can just attack it more aggressively in the rehab because it's their job. So I expect Mike Hall to be back early next season. It sucks that he keeps getting these setbacks because he's such a good player, and you just want him to get an off season, to be able to just put that work in and develop because he's such a young player. But it seems like you are going to be able to get him back early next season. Doesn't seem like he's going to be out for an entire calendar year or anything like that. And that's good news. It's still not good news that he tore his MCL in what was a pretty meaningless football game, but that's football, right? Like, you couldn't just bench everybody and not play. Like, if you're going to play football, you got to put guys out there. It's just a tough spot, man. It's a tough spot. And everybody can be Captain Hindsight on it, but it's a tough spot to be in there if you're the Browns and if you're Mike Hall, who I'm pretty sure he wanted to play, right? Because he missed a lot of football this year. He wants to develop. So it's tough, but it happens. It's football, right? But that's what happened in that press conference. Deshaun Watson set back with his Achilles injury. I don't think it changes anything that the Browns are going to do this offseason. I've basically been talking about the Browns offseason and operating as if Deshaun Watson was not there because that's how I think the Browns have been functioning for a little while here. But this pretty much sets it in stone, right? If you were on the fence, if you thought that Watson still had a chance to come back, if you were concerned about that or hoping for that, this tells you definitively the Watson franchise quarterback era in Cleveland is almost certainly done, and I'm pretty damn sure that he has played his last snap in Cleveland and that he will be on PUP for the remainder of 2025 and then shipped out of here June 1st on the June 1st cut in 2026, and that's it for the Watson thing. They've already admitted the trade's a failure, and now they have no reason to activate him off IR. So I just don't see a path forward where he continues to play for the Cleveland Browns any longer than June in 2026. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.